We'll just wait for 5 seconds and
Yep.
wait for people to join.
And then we'll start off with the Q&A.
Yeah.
Okay. Starting.
We can wait a bit more.
Yeah.
We're actually waiting for this.
Hello everyone, I'm Ashara. Pronouns are she, her, and I'm from Bangladesh. I'm a second year student here.
Hello, I'm Chris. Christian Maboko. I go by he, him. I'm from Burundi in Kenya, and I'm a second year.
Hello, I'm Sil, he, him. I'm from the Netherlands and I'm a second year student here.
Hello, I'm Anam, pronouns she, her. I'm from the US and I'm a first year student here.
Hello, I'm Ram, he, him, from Syria. I'm a second year student here as well.
Yeah, so today we will be answering your questions. We have some questions from the story that was posted yesterday, but if you have other questions, you can always ask them in the chat and we'll make sure to answer them. So yeah, we're students at UWC Dilijan. UWC Dilijan is a UWC school that's been established in 2014, and since then every year approximately 100 students graduated here. Yeah, and today we're just gonna tell you about life here and why you should apply to UWC Dilijan.
Yeah.
So we had a couple of questions from the story and from before, and we'll start by answering them. So the first question is, what is special about Armenia?
Well, Armenia is a very nice country to experience how family connections maybe are different from your country. It's also very humble. You would see that people actually they're very nice to foreigners. There's Yerevan, you can find a lot of places to enjoy, a lot of museums. It's it has a lot of culture. So yeah, that would be a thing I would really enjoy here in Armenia.
Yeah, I personally think also another special thing about Armenia is the water. The water here is so special. Like everywhere you go, you find is it the fountain? Something?
Yeah.
And you don't need to buy water, you know. And I think the people are really nice, you know, very welcoming. The hospitality is so amazing. Yeah.
And another thing is, I think, the geographical location. I mean, we're sort of in between Europe, the Middle East, and Asia, so there's a lot of cultural diversity around you and a lot of different things to experience, like food, and also the nature is very nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially around campus, it's very hilly, but we also have like rivers and everything, so the nature around campus is also really nice.
Yeah. And I actually consider Dilijan to be the most beautiful part. I like Dilijan a lot than many other places.
So for the second question, it's, do you have an opportunity to see Armenia?
Yeah. Basically, you have the opportunity if you want to go out with your friends, and also school usually organize some trip events. So we have the Explore Armenia Week, where students get the opportunity to travel different region and city in Armenia. Yeah, and you can just go out with your friends, visit some new places, just to explore. Yeah, maybe someone want to add something.
Well, yeah, there are the unsupervised overnights where students can leave with their friends to the capital, for example, to enjoy 2 days of the weekend. Then they come back to the school. Or another option is when in the beginning of a break, a winter break or summer break, some students decide to stay here for a while, for 5 days, discover around Armenia, go by themselves, enjoy the country basically.
Yeah.
We also have outdoor modules where you might be able to go on a camping or biking trip in Armenia, which is another good way to get to know the country.
Yeah, and we also have a lot of ski resorts in Armenia, so when it's snowy, you can actually also go skiing with your friends unsupervised over the weekend, which is also very nice. So there's a lot to see and do, for sure.
Exactly, yeah. And I think the most fun part is the winter break. Maybe if you want to stay, you can stay for a few weeks and move around before traveling back home. So it depends what exactly you want, yeah.
The next question is, do you have a chance to learn Armenian? I'll answer that. So for the first year students, when you first come in, you're going to have to take mandatory Armenian lessons. It's basically, they're going to teach you a little bit of the language so that you know how to get around. But if you want to learn more, you can always just learn more, talk to people here, talk to the Armenian students here, and they'll be willing to teach you Armenian all the time.
Yeah.
Perfect answer.
The fourth question is, can you go into town?
Yes, we can go into town. We have a curfew though, so we have to be back on time for check-in. But after school, you can always go into town. There's a lot of cafes, restaurants, supermarkets are near. You can also go on a hike if you want. So yeah, there's a lot to do in Dilijan. We have a park nearby where you can play sports, not only on campus but also in the town. The people are very nice. There's also a lot of dogs on the streets that you can pet. So yeah, it's generally very nice to go out for a walk and just spend some time in town.
Yeah, I mean, and another thing, during the weekdays from Monday to Friday, so students are allowed to go off campus from 4:15, but on Saturday and Sunday you can go out from like morning, whenever you want. Yeah, so there's always the opportunity to go off campus if you wanna go and buy something or just do anything.
Yeah.
The next question is, what is accommodation like? So we usually have 3 different types of rooms. Firstly is that the students are divided into 6 houses, which we call tuns here in UWC Dilijan. And the residences are divided into 2 sides. So one is the riverside, one is mountainside. And then people, based on their houses or tuns, are divided into corridors. And according to your corridors, you'll either be assigned to a 4-person room where you'll share room with 3 other people, or you'll be assigned to a 2-person room where you'll have 1 other roommate and then a bathroom in between, and then on the other side you'll have 2 more roommates. But that's basically what the accommodation's like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we have you talked about the common rooms?
No.
We have the common room, we have the chicken, and we can cook if you want to cook. And so it's like a new home. You don't feel like you're actually in a boarding school. It's just another place to call home where you have to live with your friends, with other students. So I do like the accommodation here.
We have quiet study rooms in the common rooms as well, so that there's another area for you to study if you don't want to study in your room or go to the academic building.
Yeah.
And for specifically inside your room, you'll see that you'll be paired up with roommates who are from different parts of the world. So you're unlikely to have roommates from your own country or from your own like cultural background. So you also get to learn quite a lot from your roommates and from your corridor.
Yeah. Actually, we didn't confirm if they can hear us. Did you confirm?
Yeah, so should we talk about nationalities of our roommates?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Good one.
So for me, I have a roommate from Georgia, another one from the UK, and the other one from Russia.
For me, I have a roommate from the Netherlands, from Jamaica, and from Iran.
I have a roommate from Belgium, one from Italy, and one from Russia.
I have a roommate from Palestine, Maldives, and Armenia.
I have a roommate from Georgia, Costa Rica, and Spain.
Yeah. So,
We
what's the
just-
next question?
Yeah.
What is a typical day like at UWC Dilijan?
Okay. Well, maybe first it's important to acknowledge that all UWC students live different lives, so there's not like one typical day, I would say.
Yeah.
But like generally, I think that we all wake up, we go to breakfast, and then we have classes. Most of the times they last until 4:10 approximately, and then after school we have time to study, do sports, do CASs for the CAS program, and just spend time with friends and family. No, not family. Sorry, my bad. Not family. Maybe on your phone. On the new family. The new family, exactly. And then we have dinner. We spend time with friends again, and then we sleep, right?
Yeah.
And we study a lot.
A lot of people go to the close by supermarket after school too to grab snacks and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to add on that, like we start classes at 8:30 every day in the morning, and by 12:10 we have lunch. Then 6:30 from 6:30 we have dinner. So, yeah.
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 And if you want, you can also, after school, go outside of campus and to a cafe and study there or eat there. So that is also an option.
Yeah.
It's not only studying, you can enjoy your life, you can play music, you can play sports, you can have your classes. So yeah, it could be very fun.
You can even watch movies with friends.
Yeah, exactly.
But days are overall very packed, so there's a lot to do, and like you will never get bored. So don't worry
Exactly.
about that.
Yeah.
The next question is, how different is IB from how you learned at your school? I think it sort of depends from the background you're from.
Exactly.
If you've done any, like the middle years program or anything similar to that, it is going to be a little bit less different. But if you're from the national curriculum at home or GCSEs, then it's going to be a little bit more different. But it sort of depends on the skills that you have, and because the IB is so flexible in terms of the subjects you can take, and our school offers a lot of like different subjects, it usually depends and is going to be very, very specific to you.
Yeah. I think another huge difference is that the IB have to do the EEIAs and TOK, which make a little very unique from the curriculum we did back home. And you only have to do 6 subjects. Like for me, I come from Kenya, where I can choose more than 7 subjects, but which is different here. You have to choose only 6 subjects. So yeah.
A lot of people also might not be used to having courses like global politics or philosophy. A lot of education systems don't really offer that. For example, coming from the US, I didn't really have those types of classes in my curriculum. The education here can also be a lot more based on theory and critical thinking than you might be used to
Yeah.
from your home country.
Yeah.
I think that another thing that's very different for me is that there's a lot of personal responsibility involved. So the teacher is more like a tool for you to use. So you take the learning process in your own hands, which can be quite new for some people sometimes, and it's can be hard to adapt to that. But in the end, it works very nice, and you actually get to learn yourself. So it's very nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The next question is, what IB subjects do you take?
Oh.
I'll start. So, because we have 6 subjects, I take IB Global Politics, math, applications and approach, analysis and approaches, and English language and literature. And for my standard levels, I take self-taught Bengali, physics and chemistry.
I take my higher level, or IB Global Politics, Economics and English B, and my second level are Application and Interpretation, Math AI, ESS, Environmental System and Society, and which again? Self-taught.
Okay, for me, my higher levels are global politics, geography, and English language and literature. And my standard levels are environmental systems and societies, Spanish ab initio, and math AI.
For me, my higher levels are English Lit, Global Politics, and Philosophy, and my standard levels are Russian ab initio, Math AASL, and Biology.
And for me, my higher levels are Math, Analysis and Approaches, Chemistry, Biology, and Global Politics. And my standard levels are Arabic Self-Taught and English Language and Literature. Yeah.
The next question is, what are the opportunities to play music at your school?
Oh, well, even though in UWC Dilijan we don't have the IB music program, but however the school does provide classes, some instruments classes. For example, we have piano, guitar, violin, and duduk, the Armenian instrument, traditional Armenian instrument classes. So whether you're a beginner, you want to pick up a new instrument, or whether you want to improve your skills. Beside that, we have a committee made from the student body, which is called the music committee. And we organize some music activities, from having music bands to jamming sessions. Basically, we also have music rooms. The main one is the one we are here at right now. We have many instruments, from electric guitars to drums, many pianos. We have many guitars. We have some African percussion instruments, Indian. We have many instruments. So yeah, there are a lot of opportunities to learn or to improve or to be creative and play with others. Yeah.
And if it's practical for you, you can also bring your instrument from home.
Yeah.
So I play clarinet and I brought it to the school with me so I can book time to practice in the music rooms since we also have one on the third floor. And whenever it fits into my schedule, I can come and practice music that I brought from home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we go next question?
The next question is, are there hiking opportunities?
Yes, there's a lot of hiking opportunities. We have a sports and outdoor team, and they organize hikes on a regular basis. So, for example, last week there was a hike to Mount Maimech, which is a mountain that's very close to the school, and one of our tunes is actually named after Maimech. And they take approximately 10 students, I would say, per time to experience it. And the hikes are on different levels, so whether you're a beginner or an experienced hiker, there is something for you to do. And they're generally very fun. It's not only hiking, but you also learn a lot about the nature of Armenia and how different things work, because the outdoor instructors genuinely know a lot about nature and everything surrounding it. And they also learn you how to navigate yourself, how to survive if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
So there's actually quite a lot to learn there as well. So yeah, we do it quite often.
Yeah, and there are mainly the hikes are for during the day, but there are special hikes where you can go for 3 days, 2 nights basically. You can, which includes camping with the sports and outdoor team, which basically is supervised, is super safe, and it's a lot of experience with the nature of Armenia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, there's a lot of hiking trails close to the school that you can just go on yourself, which is also nice and good to sometimes let everything go and just go on a hike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next question is, are there any projects done in sustainability? So we have a sustainability committee who are basically in charge of all sustainability projects on the school, but obviously it's a community-wide thing, so everyone sort of takes part in sustainability projects. We have multiple projects currently ongoing. So there's the one where we're trying to minimize the energy that the 2 residences spent in a year, and it's a competition, so whoever spends the least amount of energy wins at the end of the year. We have a thrift store, which is basically a room on campus where we're able to donate clothes and other people can come in and take it, and it's sort of like a swap basis. Then we have composting, we have a lot of activities with greenhouses, so the sustainability committee is always very active in the community, and there's a lot of projects ongoing. We also have the Kombili project, which is an independent project outside. Maybe Ram wants to talk about it.
Well, yeah, it's basically it's a project I started with other students, my colleagues. We first applied for Aurora Prize, which is a very nice thing that you can have access to. It's a prize for UWC schools where you can apply with your project and maybe you win, and then you can have more chances or opportunities to continue with it. So basically our project was about composting, and we already have a composting tumbler, which is kind of a faster technology to compost bio-waste, and we have it here in the school. And yeah, so basically our school is for sustainability for sure.
Yeah.
We try to be very sustainable here. Yeah.
We are sustainable.
The next question is, what is special about UWC Dilijan? I think it sort of depends for everyone. One of the reasons why I felt like UWC Dilijan was very special, stood out to me, on other than all of the other campuses, was because of the impact it plays in terms of conflict resolution. Our campus is known for its conflict resolution. So we have things like the Global Issues Forum, where we talk about the different perspectives of different conflicts that affect the world. We're very active in terms of global politics. We have different CASs that talk about politics or conflicts and conflict resolution. We have a CAS called Politics in Perspective as well. So our campus is very focused on that. But other than that, there are other special things that maybe the other people can tell you.
Yeah, maybe in terms of IB, we have some subjects that maybe other UWCs don't offer, such as Russian. And also, if you're Armenian, you can take Armenian literature here. Yeah, and I think what Ashara said is very true. It really depends on the person why Dilijan is different from other UWCs. And yeah, I mean, also the location, for example, it's in between a lot of regions, and yeah, it's just amazing.
And our sports facilities are also really good. So we have a FIFA-approved football field. We have a really nice swimming pool and gym and tennis courts and basketball courts. So if you're into sports, that could be one of the reasons why UWC could be special to you.
Maybe another thing is that our college is relatively small compared to some other UWCs. So if you like to be in a more smaller community, then UWC Dilijan is for you.
Yeah. I feel also the nature, like mountain.
Yeah, it's mountainous with a lot of fresh air. It's probably the cleanest air in this region. It feels very good to just smell the air here. And we are surrounded by some mountains which we can hike or we can just look at. It snows in the winter. It snows a lot sometimes. It gets very cold, but it gets nice cold because the school is actually very warm inside. And it is a very nice place you should apply to.
The next question is, what are the opportunities to play sports? What sports do you have?
So we have dozens of sport opportunities, and for me, I take football, but also volleyball, ping pong, basketball, and many other more. And the good thing is that if you are in any sport class, you don't only participate within the school, but we have the opportunity to participate in the league, like the Armenian League, and you can also be able to invite other schools, like other international school or in any other local school around the region, so that you can maybe have a match. And so there's a lot of sport activity here, and you just need to show your interest. And another thing, I think if you have any sport idea, you can still come with it and you can start your own class.
Yes. Okay. The next question is, what service CAS do you have?
Okay, we have a lot of service classes, and a lot of classes also go for example, service and activity or service and creativity. But one of the biggest service classes is Hands for Youth, which is the class I'm leading. Together with Andrea from Mexico. And the point of service classes is basically that we make a difference in many ways possible, and that can either be community-based or school-based. So with Hands for Youth, we try to make a difference for the outside world. So we're trying to fundraise as much money as we can for different charities. But other service classes that we have is, for example, the librarians class, where students have like their jobs in the library and where they try to keep the library clean, quiet, and where they advise students, which is more like a college-based sort of service class. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's other classes.
We also have a lot of connections and classes with the Dilijan Community Center.
Yeah.
So we have the workshop class where students from the Dilijan Community Center come in and students from our school teach them how to do pottery, how to do ceramics, and things like that. We have language classes with Dilijan Community Center as well. I know we have Spanish, we have English, and there are other opportunities to start classes as well. But the really good thing about service classes is that any class could be a service class if you're doing something meaningful for your community. So even if it's a creativity or an activity class, but you're a leader of it, that could count as your service class as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We also have the PYCD service classes where we can help out with our younger years program. It's kind of a small program, but we have PYCD science and art where you can kind of plan lessons for the younger students, and those classes are really fun and popular as well.
Yeah.
The next question is, what is challenging about the UWC experience?
Okay, so I think everyone has different challenges. I think for me, personally, it was the way in which the academic curriculum is structured and how long the lessons are and how much there is at the same time. So you cannot really do nothing in a UWC. There's always something to do, which is very nice, but you have to get used to it in the beginning. In the beginning, it can be very overwhelming and you can have some culture shocks, I would say. But now I actually genuinely enjoy it, and when I'm back home, I always feel like, oh, why is there nothing to do? I'm so bored. How do I get myself to do things? So it's something you have to get used to. That was my personal biggest challenge, I would say.
Yeah. Also, I think is time management, because there's always something to do. So maybe sometimes you want to do something, but your friends are watching a movie or they are just doing anything. So you sometimes it's very hard to manage your time. But I think after staying here for a while, you're gonna try to understand and to be able to be very more efficient in whatever you do. Yeah.
Yeah, and the class length here is actually could be for many people double how it was back home for them. For me, for example, it was back home it's 45 minutes and here it's 1 hour and 20 minutes, which was challenging for my first term. It was kind of too long. Another thing that could be challenging, that if English was not your first language, and then you have to get used to academic terms, whether you're taking sciences or humanities or wherever. But usually after the first term, most of the students are just used to these and it will not be a challenge anymore. So it will be solved naturally, yeah.
Depending on the background you're from, food
Yeah.
could also be a little bit of a challenge. Like, it could be different than what you're used to eating at home.
Yeah.
But we have a really big selection, so with time you usually get used to it. Sometimes it's also the weather. It gets kind of cold in Dilijan because it's on top of the hills, but there are also warmer times, and I think it's just a little bit about what you're used to from home and how quickly you're able to adapt. But because of the support structures we have around the school, it's usually quite easy to adapt, and after first term you'll usually be fine.
Depending on where you're coming from, distance can sometimes be the biggest challenge. I'm from the US, so just the flight is very long, and the time difference right now is 12 hours, for example. So since I'm still in my first term, that's probably the biggest challenge, getting used to being so far from home. And if you are more introverted, I would say don't be discouraged at all about the experience, but especially at first, it can take a long time to get used to the volume of social activities and being surrounded by people all the time.
I think also you talk about is like sometimes when you go out, it might be very hard to communicate with the local people because not everyone speaks English outside the school. So sometimes that's a small challenge that we usually face. So maybe you have to go with your Armenian friend if maybe you are looking for something outside the school. Yeah. So
Yeah.
The next question is, what advice would you have for someone who's applying? How can they prepare themselves for the selection?
Okay, so for the selection, I think the most important advice I can give you is to be yourself and don't over-prepare, because being a UWC student is something that's, like, there's not one specific model UWC students. There's a lot of students and we all come from different backgrounds, and that's something that we all cherish. So what I would say is just be yourself, and how cliche it is the truth. And just try to be positive about it, and yeah, just show who you are, and then it's up to whoever is deciding whether you get in or not, whether you fit the UWC values and the UWC picture, I would say.
My advice is probably, especially if you're earlier on in the process, being as honest with yourself as possible about what you want to get out of this experience and why you think coming here is the right next step for you, as well as being honest with yourself about what you think you can bring to a UWC school. And then once you really understand why you're applying, I think your application will be more focused and you'll be able to present a clearer picture of yourself and your goals.
yeah.
Also, if it's the NC process or even the GSP process, start early. That's usually really helpful for anyone who's applying. So the earlier you start, the more time you'll have to know all of these things.
Yeah.
And just genuinely don't stress about it.
Just be
I
yourself.
know it's easy for us to say that now, but it's going to be fine in the end, so yeah.
The selection process is always fun, so don't panic.
The next question is, how would you define your experience in one sentence?
Oh.
That
Too
time,
difficult
that
for
time,
me.
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
It's too complex to
Yeah.
define in one sentence.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of things. Like you come here and you'll
Yeah.
realize that it's a lot of different things, and you can never really put it in a word or a sentence, even a paragraph or an essay. I don't know.
Yeah, like when you come here, you would discover a lot of new stuff that you would not expect yourself doing. A lot of, like, there will be millions of opportunities, a lot of stuff you want to try for the first time, then many things that you actually want to work on and improve, many skills and works on some values. And yeah, so you can't just, like, UWC is not just a
Yeah.
one sentence, it can be summed up. It's just, yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot of things.
Maybe a movie. But
How would you? What kind of people make good UWC students?
There's not a model student, I would say. But if you're a risk taker, if you think that or like if you're open to learn from others as well, I think that's a very good first step. And also, if you're willing to share whatever you feel like, or like just share who you are, basically, if you're open to do that, I feel like that's the good first step.
Yeah.
And then also being critical about yourself and also your surroundings is something that's important as a UWC student.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
I mean, we have a lot of different types of people here, so like however you may be, you'll always find someone or the other here who will be similar to you or you'll vibe with. So there really is not a model UWC student at all, but definitely be open-minded and open to accepting challenges.
Yeah. Also, before we move to the next question from the like prepared questions, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section, because that's the only way we can see them, and then we will try our best to answer them as good as we can. Yeah.
The next question is, what kind of universities do students go to after UWC? It really depends, because I think the people here are so different that they want different things from universities as well. If you want to aim for the top universities, you can definitely go there. We have a lot of students who do go to top universities. If you want to take a gap year and explore the world, get like job opportunities and job experiences, you can do that. If you want to go around the world to the US, to Europe, back to your home country, there are opportunities to do that as well. So it sort of depends, and it kind of depends on what you want from your experience and the type of universities you can go to. But UWC definitely prepares you for whatever university you may get into in the future.
Yeah, and you can decide to go to study wherever. But most of the UWC students, they choose to go to the US because of the Davis scholarship. But some few other students, they go to, like, they stay in Europe, and others decide to move to Asia. So it depends with your own preference. Yeah, but the majority goes to US.
Yeah. Next question.
What is the most impactful experience you have had at UWC Dilijan so far?
There's too much.
I mean, probably since I'm still in my first term, I can pick one experience, but it would probably be my first couple days here, or maybe the first week, because it was just so different all of a sudden from being at home. And it can feel like a lot at first, but it was also kind of the most rewarding week, because once you get through the initial shock of coming here, you start to understand more about the community and kind of decide what you're going to try to focus on here and what aspects of yourself you want to develop.
I also think the regional evenings. You get an opportunity to learn not only like in classroom, but to be able to see the culture, other students showcasing their culture, and you can also decide to participate during their performance. So for me, I think the RE has been the most impactful experience. I like dancing and listening to different kind of music. Yeah, so it depends with.
Yeah, and another interesting thing here is you may not experience back home is our relationship with our teachers. So basically, we can basically be friends with them. We can just talk to them after class. We can have lunch in the cafe together. Yeah, we can ask them about their favorite sports and singers. So yeah, and so it's a very friendly relationship. You can this way be more open to the class. You can enjoy it more. You can actually know your teacher as a human being more than just a teacher. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next question is, has living at UWC Dilijan influenced your personality?
Yes.
It usually does influence your personality, because you're here 24/7, you're around so many different people. And if it does influence your personality, I think you're probably like doing UWC right. But even if it doesn't, then that's fine as well, because different people have different experiences. But one thing's for sure, that after you're done with the experience, you'll realize that you learned a lot of different things and your life changed in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you go back for the breaks, you start realizing how much you learned in Armenia. It's quite funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we would like to move on to questions from the comment section. So if you have any questions, then please leave them in the comment section. Maybe I also saw some questions about our nationality, since some people joined later. Maybe it's good to introduce ourselves really quick once more. So I'm Sil, I'm a second year student here. I go by he, him, and I'm from the Netherlands.
I'm Anam. I'm a first year student here. I go by she, her, and I'm from the US.
I'm Ram, I go by he, him. I'm a second year here, I'm from Syria.
I'm Ashara. I'm from Bangladesh. I go by she, her. I'm a second year student here.
I am Chris. I'm from Burundi and Kenya. I go by he, him, and I'm a second year. Yep. So,
If you guys have any questions, just put it in the chat.
So there is a question, are you going to have an open house? So there will be an open house in the spring where you can visit the school. Mostly it will be Armenians visiting the school. So yeah, there will be one in the spring. The other question is, does Dilijan have any martial arts in its cast?
We don't have one yet, but if you're passionate enough about it, you can definitely come in here and start a martial arts cast. That is completely possible.
But I think this year there was a boxing cast starting. Yeah.
And I know from previous years that we had it, so
yeah, before we had such a cast, yeah. How is being far from the city? Well,
so we're not necessarily far from the city. If you mean Yerevan, it's like 2 hours away approximately. And it's fine because we're not in the middle of nowhere. We're in Dilijan, and Dilijan is quite a developed city with like a lot of cafes, restaurants, supermarkets, and a lot of things to do. So I don't know, I never feel like I'm sort of in the middle of nowhere and lost. So yeah, I have no difficulties with it.
And
personally.
for example, if you want to go on an overnight trip to Yerevan with your friends, it's not too difficult to pitch in to get a taxi together, and it can turn out to be around an hour and a half to get to Yerevan. So it's not always that difficult to get to the city, especially if you're going to stay there overnight.
yeah. The other question is, can you tell more about CAS? Which ones you can recommend? If maybe you can tell about the structure of the CAS or why it's needed here.
Should I start off?
Yeah.
Okay,
go on.
so CAS stands for Creativity, Activity and Service. So CAS is basically an IB requirement. It's the IB core, and it sort of makes students do extracurricular things. So we have creativity classes, activity classes, and service classes. And there's a lot in the school. And the idea is that you choose one from each stream. So you have one creativity class, one activity class, and one service class. And you can either lead the class or just be a member of it. And you're supposed to write 3 reflections on it per term in order to reflect on how you're doing, what you've learned from it, and how you would do better in the future. There's a lot of classes. Some students are very passionate about their classes. And like it's a good opportunity to sort of focus on whatever you like. And it still counts for your IB diploma, and you can actually make other people enthusiastic about it as well. So it's a very nice program. I think that's generally what CAS is.
Yeah, I think we can answer the question first because then we can go back to this.
Yeah. There was one that asked, can you swim? Is there a swimming pool? We do have a swimming pool, and we have time slots for the swimming pool. So anytime during the time slots, you can go and swim. The pool is heated, so even if it's cold outside, you're not going to have any trouble swimming.
Yep.
There was another question that is, what, if any, opportunities do you have after school? It basically depends on what kind of a day you want to have. Usually you'll have classes and you can go attend that. Sometimes you can go outside and explore the town, go to cafes, go to the grocery store. Other times you can go into the library, study, or just do anything in the residences, the academic building. So anytime after classes depend. There isn't a very strict sort of schedule for after classes. Here in Dilijan, we also have a lot of concerts. So sometimes after classes, we have bands and musicians come from outside and around the world to play concerts in UWC Dilijan, and you can attend those.
Then there's the question, do you have to choose only one subject from each branch? For CAS, yes. For the IB, technically yes. There is some flexibility. Some subjects cover multiple
disciplines,
exactly. So then you have some more flexibility. But overall, the general idea is that you choose one from each branch, yes.
And there's an extra thing. So basically, the group number 6, which is art group, you can basically not choose any art subject and instead choose another subject from one of the disciplinaries you chose. Yeah.
For example, I don't take an art subject, so I do global politics and philosophy, whereas if you did theater, you might only have one humanities.
Yeah.
There was another question that is, you think it's possible to build a tech startup at UWC? If you're passionate enough, definitely. And you'll probably find other people here who are as passionate as you about tech, about computer science, etc. So you'll probably get a lot of help as well if you want to build a tech startup. So it's definitely possible.
So, and this year we participated in the first global. There was a team from the school, and they won a prize They won a prize.
Exactly.
They won bronze medals. And yeah, they basically represented Armenia, the whole country, in Singapore.
Yeah, and also I think if you want some funds to fund your business, I think we have the Go Make a Difference, the UWC Go Make a Difference funding, and you can apply up to $2,000. So there's always the opportunity. You just need to come with your idea, and we have people who are interested in tech here on campus, so they can always help. And also have computer science, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next question is, if you wanted to start your own cast, what steps would you have to go through? It's actually quite easy. You would ideally want a co-leader other than you. Then you would want to go to our cast supervisor, then tell her you want to start a cast. You fill out a form, and then if she approves it, and get a supervisor, and which is usually a teacher. If she approves it, you can have your own cast. So it's not difficult. If you're passionate about it, you can definitely do it.
How hard is it to cope with being away from home?
So homesickness really depends on the person again. But for personal experience, I had some difficulties with it in the beginning. And what helped me a lot was discussing with my parents when I would contact them, so that it was one moment of the week where I actually talked to them. And that kind of helped me through, because it was something I was looking forward to, and it brought some structure in it. And because we have social media nowadays, it's quite easy to stay in touch with your friends and your family. So yeah, especially in the beginning it was hard, and now it's quite okay for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we basically get used to the distance in the end. Yeah. And we can always have a phone call with the people we want.
And also the people here on campus sort of become your second family, so you will never really feel alone. So that's also a nice thing.
The next question is, how can you help your community when you graduate, after you graduate from UWC? I think for different people, the giving back to your community part looks different. I know a lot of us here are from the national committees, so they volunteer their national committees with the selection process, etc. We have alumni here who are teachers as well, and we have them as tutors, we have them being part of the community. You can fundraise for UWC, you can talk about UWC in your university, encourage other people to join. So it also, it depends on what kind of contribution you want to have. You can also donate if you want.
Yeah.
The next question is, can you please talk about the interview stage and how can we prepare?
Well, you have to be yourself, because that's the point of the interview.
Exactly.
A preparation could be that, you read the application you applied with, you read the essays, because they might be questions about them, maybe more explanation on them. But mainly, you have to be yourself, because that's what you're here for. Yeah, you want to come to UWC to add your personal fingerprint to the community and the experience.
Yeah, I think you should not answer what you think they would like to hear, but just genuinely what you feel like answering. I think that's a very good advice to sort of put that into practice.
Just be you. You present yourself. Be you.
Yeah.
Because they just want to know you, and after reading your application, so make sure that you show who you are, because they're gonna give you if they want to give someone the opportunity to come and spend 2 years here. So probably they want to understand what are your values and the kind of a person you are.
The best thing you can do for yourself right before the interview is probably to focus on calming down and going into it with a positive mindset, almost like you want to get to know your interviewer or become their friend, as opposed to having pre-prepared answers, which might make you have a more stressed mindset. And then also, your answers will probably come naturally during the interview if you're very aware of what excites you about UWC and who you are as a person. Then you don't need to rehearse your answers to a T.
The next question is, what were your colleges that were the favorites on your application? Personally, for me, it was UWC Dilijan was first on my list. For my national committee, we get to choose 3, and Dilijan was my first, India was my second, and Costa Rica was my third.
My first was Robert Bush in Germany, second Dilijan, and the third one was Pearson, Canada.
For me, Dilijan was not in my top 3. I had Red Cross Nordic, Lipojun, and Mostar.
Yeah, my top choice was Mostar, but then Dilijan was my second choice. Mahindra in India was my third choice, and then East Africa was my fourth choice.
And for me, I just left it for luck, so I didn't order the schools. I left it for my national committee to decide which school was good for me, because I was like, oh, I can't choose out of all of these, they're all nice. Yeah, and I got to a good one. Yeah.
There's a question that is, can you tell about the admission stages after video interview? I think it sort of depends from national committee to national committee. For some, the interview stage is the last stage, and then you just await your decision. Others might have other interview stages, so we recommend you go contact someone from your national committee or just go look at their websites.
Yeah.
The next question is, who out of you 5 applied via national committee and who applied via GSP?
So I applied via GSP.
Yeah, and I did national committee.
I did national committee as
I
well.
did national committee as well.
I did GSP.
I think maybe like some comments on this. In the school, we mostly have students from NCs, but there's also a proportion of GSP, so it's kind of balanced. Yeah.
And once you come here, it doesn't really matter.
No.
You never know.
Yeah, you'll never know.
No, you cannot guess. No.
The next question is, do you have trips around Armenia? Yes, we do. We have a week that's assigned, and where we don't have classes, we can go around Armenia with the school. We can have tours around different regions, Gyumri, Lori, etc. And it's called the Explore Armenia Week. We also have outdoor modules, so if you want to look at the nature in Armenia, you can go with the outdoor team for hikes, caving, mountain biking, all of that. And if you want by yourself, you can also go out with your friends, go around Yerevan, go around Dilijan, go around Gyumri, so you have a lot of chances to look around Armenia.
You can also go out for sport competition, like if you have a game in Yerevan or in any other part of the country, so you can go and just explore as you participate in the sport activity.
The next question is, in which language did you speak during the interview? I think it sort of depends from national committee to national committee as well. I come from the Bangladeshi National Committee, but I spoke in English during my interview.
GSP is English.
I did mine in Dutch.
Yeah, and for me, I had the option of doing English or Arabic, and I did it in English.
The next question is, does UWC Dilijan have computer science lessons? Yes, we do.
Only SL, standard level.
Yeah.
But we have a lab and everything, so if you're passionate about computer science, you will get the opportunity to do that here.
While you're in the application process, that's probably something you could also email the school about. Sometimes the school can put you in contact with a student here that's doing something you're interested in. For example, while I was applying here, I got to email someone about music at the school, so you could probably do something similar with computer science.
The next question is, what are you studying in philosophy?
Who's taking philosophy?
Well, do any of you guys do philosophy too?
No.
Okay. Well, I've heard it varies a little bit between the teachers, but for us, we just finished a large unit on ethics, and we had a presentation on the ethics related to abortion. So we had to use the arguments of various philosophers to justify a stance that we were given. And we also finished a large unit on Kant, and throughout these lessons, you'll kind of evaluate their writings and then be asked to take different stances on what they say, and also use other philosophers' arguments to develop your own stance.
The next question is your mental health suffering a lot because of the assignments? It depends from person to person and how well you manage your time.
Yeah.
The school recommends, especially for second years, that you do some work over the summer so that you can come in and have a little bit of a more chill, term 3, and not a lot of assignments. But some people are really good with pressure, other people are not so good with pressure. So it depends. But if your mental health is suffering, we have a lot of resources to help with that. We have peer listeners who are basically your friends who are assigned if you need, like if you're having trouble, you can talk to them. We have a well-being counselor who's amazing. If you want, you can talk to him and he'll make you feel better. And we have a lot of other resources as well. You can talk to your teachers, your friends. So usually there is a lot of support system to get you through your bad days.
Yeah.
And I mean, it might be worth adding, but if you come here and you find you have really bad time management, then if anything, it's a good opportunity to start working on that skill. And since we have so many resources available here to help us, this will be a pretty welcoming and understanding community for you to start developing your time management skills.
The next question is, what kind of questions are they asking during the interview? I think that also depends from national committee to national committee and GSP to GSP. But just be yourself, and it wouldn't matter what questions they usually ask. You'll be ready to answer whatever they ask.
Yeah, I think the question are coming from your application. Whatever you wrote in the application is what they're gonna ask about. So just make sure you understand whatever you wrote there before the interview.
They might also want to know about your comfortability level with going to certain countries or how far from home you're willing to go, questions like that.
Mm-hmm.
The next question is, do applicants who choose GSP also have to pick their preferred UWC schools? If I'm not wrong, they can just choose where to apply.
Yeah, so for GSP, you don't pick preferred schools, you apply to specific schools. I think it's up to 5 schools that you can apply to. So I applied to 4. With that, there are a couple extra steps, like writing specific answers as to why you would want to go to a specific school. And you might be invited to have extra interviews with the specific schools that you're applying to.
I applied to 3, but they always try to do their best to allocate you to their first preference, but things might change. They always make sure that they allocate you to those 3 schools that you selected. Yeah.
The next question is, does it feel weird the first time you enter UWC? How did you deal with it? For me personally, it was more exciting than weird, but sometimes it can feel a little unsettling. The campus is beautiful. Take a walk around and you'll feel excited again. But it can sort of depend. But again, you'll have people who are going through the same things as you, so you'll never really be alone. If you feel weird, you have other people who feel weird. You can talk to them about it. If you're excited, you'll have other people who are excited and you can talk to them about it. So there's a really big community aspect to it.
Yeah, I feel like at the beginning everyone is affable, like very friendly, and like the first 2 weeks you have a lot of activity are going on, and so you never feel like bored, and it never felt weird, because you always have something to do. You always have people coming to you asking where you're from, what is your name. Yeah.
The next question is, what is your most challenging subject and what's your best way of approaching it? We can take turns answering.
What?
What is your most challenging subject and what's your best way of approaching it?
Okay. Who can start?
I'll start. My most challenging subject is math, AAHL. The way of approaching it is you can just practice more and we have a lot of math tutors. We have the math teachers who are always willing to help. You can always go to them, ask them questions, and that usually helps.
I think my most challenging subject is self-taught. It's because I have to plan when I want to study self-taught, and there's no like a very detailed structure how you have to study self-taught, so it's a bit challenging for me. But what I do is that I usually try to seek help from my tutor who is living in Kenya. So yeah, so always be curious and always reach out to teachers for help if you are having any issues in the subject that is very challenging.
For me, it's English language and literature. And what I do is just approach my teacher for some extra feedback or tips, and that mostly helps. And also just talking about it with your classmates, sharing notes, that really helped me throughout the year.
My most challenging subject is probably a tie between Russian ab initio and math AASL. For math, I just don't have a very good background in it, so the way I've been trying to improve is by doing as many practice worksheets and questions that I have access to, and also asking all my classmates for help, because usually there will be someone in your class who has a pretty good grasp on it that's willing to explain the concepts to you. And then for Russian, probably listening to the language has helped me a lot, as well as communicating what I'm struggling with to my teacher, because especially when your teacher knows that a subject is very new to you or you have no background in it, they'll be very understanding and want to help you out.
Yeah. And for me, it was global politics. As well, we have to write long, very long essays that I would never write back home. So what I did to get over the time challenge and the terms, the academic terms, to get to know them, I started to read a lot of political articles to get more case studies from around the world and get more global political terms, which actually helped a lot. So, like in the first term, I was not used to it. Second term, I got used to writing paper 1s and 2s. It just made it easier. And I think that is shared between the humanities subjects. You probably would read, that reading will help to get over any challenge you would face with these subjects.
Yeah.
And what subject you find difficult is going to vary based on the backgrounds you have. But you can always ask a second year student, a classmate, and they'll always be willing to help, share their notes, etc. The next question is, what opportunities does UWC Dilijan give for applying to universities?
Well, I would say a lot, but personally, I think that most students that are here are not here to go to a good university, but more to make a difference in their local community or in the global community worldwide. So I would say universities really value that. The fact that you're interested in other things, that you're actually trying to put into practice what you believe in. So I think that's something that universities value a lot, right? But genuinely, I personally feel like UWC is not like an institution that's there in order to go to a good uni or something. It's not something that immediately automatically happens. It's more being a UWC student that might help you to get into uni.
But if you're stressed about whether you'll be given information, etc., we have university fairs, we have a university counselor, and you can always ask them questions and they'll be willing to help out whenever you need.
Yeah. Basically, we guide you during the application process. So
there's a question that says, what can I do if I lose one scholarship on UWC? Can I talk with someone? We'd recommend emailing your national committee if you're national committee, and if you're GSB, emailing the body that's responsible for it. It usually isn't dependent on one particular campus or one particular school. The next question is, what exactly is TOK and CAS?
Mm-hmm. So TOK stands for Theory of Knowledge, and it's an IB core subject. And what you basically do is you reflect on the production of knowledge and how that links back to specific subject groups or areas of knowledge, how we call them. And what's nice about TOK is that it's a class where nothing seems what it's actually like. So you think a lot and you get into this sort of loops of reasoning, and sometimes I leave the TOK class with more questions than I entered. And the nice part about TOK is that it has 2 assessments which are quite fun. One is an essay where you have to put in a lot of personal examples, and we also have an exhibition where you actually have to talk about 3 objects and how that links back to the production of knowledge, which is a very nice subject, and actually helps you further not only in being an IB student and your approach to the other subjects, but I think also to being a UWC student and actually critically analyzing whatever is happening in the system you're part of. So yeah.
Who wants to talk about CAS?
CAS is basically the sort of extracurricular part of the IB course that we have. It is part of the IB core curriculum, so it is integrated within your IB diploma. You have one creativity, one activity, and one service. So it's sort of like a creativity in the sense self-explanatory. An activity would be like a sports CAS, like a physical wellness sort of situation, and the service would be something that you give back to your community or to other people. And we have a lot of options here, so that's sort of how you can choose. And like once you come in, you'll have an information session, so it's not confusing at all.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the screenshots?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question is, at what time do classes start? Classes start at 8:30. Unless you have a free period in the first period, then they start at 9:50.
Yeah, and they usually end at 4:10, but for Thursday it starts at 8:30, it ends at 1:30. If you have lunch, then you have time to do your classes if your classes needed to be earlier in the day.
So the second one is, do you have chess as a part of CAS? Yes, we have the chess CAS.
Yeah.
The other question is, what are the qualities of the participants that may be disapproved during selections?
I don't think there's a quality that necessarily disapproved, to be fair.
If they think that you're not ready to leave home, that would be something that would worry them. Or if you don't seem open-minded, then those qualities probably wouldn't work with the experience here.
And I think it's sort of better for you as well, because it's a 2-year experience. It's long, to some extent it's also not that long when you look at it differently. So if you get disapproved, don't take it as discouraging or demotivating. It's probably what's best for you at that time.
I actually applied 3 times. So the first time was rejected, the second time was rejected, and the third time I got it. So if you are rejected, doesn't mean you don't deserve UWC, but you have to understand that many people also applying, and things always happen.
Yeah.
But if you have the opportunity to reapply again, you can do that.
There was another question on the chat, which was, how do you know what to pack for first term? So usually the school sends out a packing list. If you want, you can reach out to anyone who is a second year, and they'll help you with essentials that you may need. But usually it's just the basics. If you have, if you're not very good with cold, bring warm clothes. If you're not very good with warm weather, bring things that are important. We recommend bringing decorations for your room to make it feel like home. Products that you may need for skincare, hair care, healthcare, etc. that you think you won't find outside your home country. So it's things like that, but you'll have a lot of time to think through it. And most of the things you can find here around Dilijan. If not in Dilijan, you can find it in Yerevan. So it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Also bring lunch socks, because for some reason they just vanish. You would have them, but then you don't. Yes, bring a lot.
Maybe another small thing is that before you come to UWC Dilijan, you will be put in touch with some student buddies that can actually help you with your packing list and all the other questions you have. So in case you don't know any second years, don't worry, because you will be paired up with some.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Should we?
So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so basically this Q&A will be posted. If you missed some of it, or if you want to share it with someone else, it will be posted. You can come back and see it again. Yeah, and thank you a lot.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you
for
so
watching.
much.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Yes.
It's the top.
Yeah. Yeah.